What is up, you guys? My name is Breyonna, and today we are going to be testing out another palette from the BH Cosmetics Sweet Shop collection, and that is the green one called Pistachio. And isn't this one so cute? I love the packaging of it. And if you haven't seen the inside of it yet, like if you're into green eyeshadow, I think you're gonna honestly love the color story. You get a lot of these kind of like lighter pastel greens, you get these like grungier ones, and you also get these really cool and interesting shimmers I've never seen before. And if you'd like to see any of the other looks I have done using this collection, I'll have them all linked in the description box down below for you guys. But before we jump into it though, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on my Instagram page, it is at Breyonna. So off camera, I prime my eyelids using my Anastasia eye primer because otherwise this video is going to be super crazy long because I'm in a chatty mood today, and I know when I get chatty, like, videos get really long. But today the palette that we are going to be using is from the BH Cosmetics Sweet Shop collection, and this is called Pistachio. And I gotta be honest, this is the palette that really made me want the collection because it's just so unique. For a green palette, I've literally never seen anything like it before because it's kind of like a bright green, but at the same time it has like this little hint of blue to it and almost like a neon pop, especially this kind of like green yellowy shade. And this one's called Soft Serve, but it's just such a unique color. Even like these two right here, I don't think I have anything like those in my collection. I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like a lot of green eyeshadow palettes that have been launching lately are a little bit more on the grungy side. And don't get me wrong, like, I really love my grungy greens, but sometimes I want something a little bit different. You know what, let's just go in with that Soft Serve shade first, because again, I'm in a chatty mood. But I'm just going to be taking it on this Anastasia A26, and I'm just going to be applying that right into my crease. So I'm just going to do another layer just to kind of see what's up because the first layer was a little bit on the sheer side. Oh yeah, she definitely builds up. That's a really cool color though. It's kind of like a pastel limey yellow. It's really unique. You just don't see shades like this all that much. And again, when I'm applying it, I'm popping it in that crease and then afterwards doing these little tiny circular motions to blend that upwards towards my brow. I'm also using it to round out my outer V. And today I want to do something like super dramatic and super extra, so I'm really smoking the shadow out far. So once you have that shadow applied and blended out, now we're going to go in with this shade right next to it called Guilty Pleasure. So I'm just going to be taking this shade on this Anastasia A25 blending brush, and I'm just going to be popping it into my crease to help deepen things up a little bit. Because we want to get a really dark, grungy, smoky eye today, so we need as much definition as we can get. And I'm also using it to round out my outer V. And again, once I'm done applying it, I'm just doing these little tiny circular motions to blend it upwards. But dang, like, that's actually a really cool shade. So I'm just going to do another layer of this shadow just to deepen it up a little bit more. But you know, going into this, I was not sure as to what to expect because part of me, like when I first looked at the palette in person, I was like, this kind of looks a little bit like a pastel vibe with some darker shades mixed in. Then the other part of me was like, no, you know, there is some different tones of green in here, so I wasn't too sure as to how it was going to work once applied. But I'm so happy that we are able to deepen up shades. Because that was honestly kind of like my biggest fear with this palette. I gotta say, like, this shade has such a beautiful pigmentation to it. And also, it's blending out really nice for a green. Because sometimes, like, these types of shades, they can give you the ugliest harsh lines and can be super hard to work with. But this shade so far is just really nice. So we're just going to go down the line of the mattes for right now. So the next shade we are going to be using is called Nutty. And I gotta say, like, it's a really cool shade. It's kind of like a grass green, but it has like this little hint of like an earthy undertone to it. It's really cool in the pan. So I'm just going to be taking it in my crease using this, what are you at? Luxie 243 Precision Blending Brush. And again, I'm doing like these back and forth motions to apply the color, just to really get like that pigment up in there. And then afterwards, I'm just going to do these like little circular motions to blend it up into everything else and also use it to round out my outer V. You know, to me, this shade is a little bit more almost like a true green. You know, like in the pan it almost has like an earthy undertone, but when applied, it definitely looks more like, you know, like just a standard green. And I'm just going to do a second layer just to get more definition. And I have like a little bit of chunkiness right here in the inner portion of my eye because it's really dry right there. I've been trying out new skincare products, and as you can see, my skin, she's a little bit messed up right now. And unfortunately, my eyes got like that too from a eye cream. So it's just taking some time to heal. So that's why it looks kind of a little bit wonky right here. So in this outer portion of my eye, I don't know if you guys can see, but it just looks super smooth. There's literally no harsh lines in sight. And the formula of these shadows so far has been really nice to the point where I haven't had to use any effort to blend them out. So the shades that I have used so far would be definitely very beginner friendly. So I just read on Instagram that this palette has a scent to it. I didn't even know that. I literally just bought it for the color story, but yeah, you can kind of smell it. It's not overpowering, you know, it doesn't smell like chocolate or anything like that. It smells almost like cake batter in a way, but it's not strong. I think it's supposed to technically be vanilla, but to me it doesn't smell like vanilla. Granted, when I think of vanilla scented things, I think of like a MAC lipstick, so I don't know if my nose is off or like what it is, but yeah, it's definitely not overpowering. Like if you hate scents, you probably won't even smell this. Like I had to get my nose like way up in here to smell it. So now we're going to be going in with this shade that I'm the most curious as well as the most nervous about, and that is this deeper one right here. And I'll be honest, in the pan it definitely looks a lot more blue than green, but I'm not too sure if it's going to apply different. And this one's called Cone or Cup. So I'm just going to be taking it on this Morphe M507 brush. And in the pan it almost looks more like a deepened teal than a dark green, so I'm not too sure if this look is going to get a little bit more blue. And I'm just going to be applying it again in that crease, using it to round out my outer V, and then doing these little tiny circular motions to blend that upwards. So far it's applying really nice, but I'm just going to go in with another layer just to kind of see what happens and just to get a little bit more definition. So it seems like it almost has a little bit more of like a buildable formula, which is nice for deeper shades, especially if you're a beginner or if you struggle blending out your shadows. It just makes it a lot easier to work with. And also I've noticed a buildable formula with deeper shades, you don't get as many harsh lines. So using that brush that we applied Guilty Pleasure with, I'm just taking a little bit more on that brush and running it right around the edges of Cone or Cup, just to help get a really nice blend. I'm just surprised I haven't seen more people talk about this collection, let alone this palette, just because I know a lot of people are really into green right now. But off camera though, I'm just going to cut my crease, and I'm just going to do like a normal cut crease, nothing fancy. And then afterwards, I'll be right back to finish up the lid. So after cutting my crease, I got this really ugly harsh line here in the outer third of my lid. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of Cone or Cup, that dark matte that we just used, and pack it right on that harsh line using this brush from Morphe. I'm trying to figure out which shimmers I want to go in with because they all have like a really unique vibe to them and look really interesting in the pan. But you know what, let's go in with this one called Crunch first. It's the deepest one in the palette. And then using a damp and flat shader brush, I'm just going to be applying it to the outer half of my lid, right on top of that base. Okay, like that is a really cool shimmer. It's kind of giving me like peacock vibes in a way. But you know what, I'm going to do a second layer just to really amplify it. Oh yeah, like that shimmer is sick. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like in person, it's like this really beautiful wet metallic. It's not on the glittery side though. Definitely is more like a sheen type of shimmer. Man, like that is a pretty color. And I'm just taking whatever's left on my brush and kind of like feathering it into this kind of like outer portion that we just did for a really nice gradient blend. So for the rest of the lid, we're gonna go in with this shade called Sweet Life, and I don't even know how to explain this color. Like, it is super unique. I don't think I have anything like it. It's kind of like a lighter green, but it has like a little hint of gold to it. It's a super cool color. Using a different flat shader brush, again, I'm just going to be applying this to the rest of the lid. Ooh, that one, she's pigmented and also like super, super sparkly right away. Like the other one, I kind of had to do 2 layers with, which honestly isn't a big deal. But this one is just like this beautiful wet metallic. Again though, I don't see any glitter with this shade. It's more of like the wet sheen type of shimmer. And I've noticed the shimmer shades between all of the palettes that I have tried so far have that wet sheen to them. They're definitely not on the glittery side. But seriously though, like this shade is so cool. I'm so happy that we put it next to this one. They just pair so beautifully. And I'm just going to take whatever is left on my brush though and lightly go over the shade that we just applied. And I'm doing like a little bit of a tapping motion. I just can't get over how beautiful those shimmers are on the lid. Like, they just kind of like tied everything together. But off camera though, I'm just going to clean things up because this palette did give me a little bit more palette than the other ones have. And I'm also, you know, going to do like my liner, my lipstick, and all of that good stuff. And then afterwards, I'll be right back to finish up the lower lash line. As you see, I'm loving how this look is turning out so far, but now we're going to start working on the lower lash line just to get some balance with this look and just to tie everything together. And I'm trying to debate on like which shade I want to go in with, but you know what, let's go in with that mid-tone green that we used earlier called Nutty. And using this teeny tiny little Luxie 231 small tapered blending brush, I'm just going to be applying this right underneath the lower lash line. And when I'm doing this, I'm doing back and forth motions, and I'm also slightly smoking it downwards. And then lastly, for the inner corner highlight, we're going to be going in with the super icy shade in the palette called Dessert. I'm just going to be taking it on this Anastasia A14 little pencil brush, and I am super packing this down in my inner corner because I want to get it as bright as we can. Because you guys know I really like a bright inner corner highlight. Ooh, that shade though is so pretty. And I'm just going to do another layer though, just to really ice it up. And also when I'm doing this, I'm slightly bringing it underneath the inner tear duct area. And this will help really draw attention to the inner corner and help open up the eye. I also use this shade as my highlight today, and I mean, like, seriously, like, look how cool that is. It's kind of like an icy, like, bluish green. It's a really unique highlighter even, but I will say if you do use it as a highlighter, I do recommend, you know, taking like a setting spray, doing like one spritz on your face, and then going in with the product on a brush. It makes it so much more blinding and a lot easier to work with. And like when I say it makes it more blinding, like trust me, it's like 10 times more like blinding, and it has like almost a really cool metallic look to it. So after trying out this palette today, I gotta say, like, the quality of it is just so good and just so underrated. I seriously do not understand why more people aren't talking about this collection. Maybe it's because they didn't really promote it, or maybe it's because it's limited edition, but still, like, the formula is just so nice. I mean, again, like, the mattes in here, super beautiful, very easy to work with, and also really beginner friendly. Like, I cannot stress enough, like, this dark shade right here, if you're a beginner or if you struggle blending out your shadows, you're not gonna have any problems using that shade. The shimmers in here though are seriously like a game changer. Like, they have like this beautiful like buttery wet metallic look to them. But I will say, after trying out this palette compared to the other ones, this shade right here called Crunch, this like deeper metallic one, this one has a little bit more fallout than the other shimmers I have used in this palette as well as the previous palette, so just keep that in mind. But again, like, the fallout that you get from it really isn't that bad, so it's just kind of like one of those shades you might want to be a little bit careful with. To me, the shimmers in this palette also have a lot of dimension to them. They're just a little bit more pizzazzy than a regular shimmer is. So if you're somebody that likes a really pizzazzy and really interesting shimmer, I think you're gonna really love the ones in this palette. So when it comes down to it, would I recommend the Pistachio palette to you guys? And honestly, I cannot recommend this one enough. Like, if you're like me and you love green eyeshadow, or if you're wanting to experiment with it and you don't know where to start and you want something with a really good formula, this palette is definitely one to try out and look into. I mean, honestly, like, the colors in here are beautiful. It has a lot of shine and a lot of sparkle, and the mattes in here are very easy to work with and beginner friendly. To me, the only downfall of this palette is the price tag. It is $18, so it is definitely up there for BH Cosmetics. But I will say, even though it is priced a little bit higher than their normal palettes, I still think it is worth checking out because the formula of this palette is a lot different than their other palettes. And the pan sizes of this palette are a lot larger than a standard eyeshadow, and you also get a really nice mirror in here. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this look right here, and also let me know what your favorite palette is from the Sweet Shop collection. But as always though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on my Instagram page, it is @BreyonnaFaye. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!